But right now we're hopping in a plane again, a digital plane, flying all over to the sunny and very welcoming Greece to learn and explore the breakthrough deep tech venture building ideas that only maybe Greece can provide to us. So let's welcome on the stage, he leads the L-Stone Capital, an A-Seed and Series A fund focused on innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Michalis. Stangos. Michalis, welcome.
Thank you for having me. So, hello. Can I ask a very quick question? How many of you are startups? Okay. And ecosystem builders? Okay, you're doing both. And any investors on the room? Okay, cool. So industry disruptors actually is, I'm an entrepreneur, ecosystem builder, and now on the dark side as well as an investor. I became an ecosystem builder with industry disruptors back in 2011 because of the Greek crisis. I was an Endeavoree entrepreneur. Endeavor is an organization supporting startups mainly in US and then in the developing countries. And I was invited in Istanbul, Turkey. Turkey was, back in 2011, had already a developed ecosystem with startups, the first unicorns, and I was there and I was impressed. I came back to Greece, I didn't find anything. There was nothing. It was the first TEDx event with 60 people attending only. So I decided to do something to support especially the Greek youth. You know, we had an unemployment rate back then, something like 67%, tremendous brain drain. People were flying to continue their career somewhere abroad that can actually survive, but also flourish through that, through their path. And industry started as an ecosystem builder in Greece, but in essence, what happened is that we scaled in 64 countries. Doing mainly 4 things. Okay, so more or less is this the golden triangle of knowledge, plus with a 4th axis of importing government and local authorities, blah, blah. But what we did, it was the talent discovery. Back then, you know, we start collaborating with international players, creating competition along verticals. Industry verticals, as all ecosystem builders, as you saw. Okay, to compare with plug and play is not exactly the comparison you want to make, but the model is more or less the same. You explore different industry sectors, and through that we were sourcing talent discovery processes. We did a lot of competitions, and then the second thing is, okay, you get the talent, how you empower it on a business skill perspective. So we created incubation, acceleration processes, and definitely then you need these guys and ladies that they have the idea, they now somehow know how to go one step forward, also to connect them. So you do these international events to attract the right people, connect, also bring the industry players, bring all the stakeholder mapping that potential can actually lead to concrete opportunities. And at the end of the day, all these guys, all these startups, what they're missing, access to funding. So more or less, all we do the same. What we followed as a secret recipe, it was that we didn't want to discover anything new. We wanted actually to implement best practices and to create international path for the startup of Greece, but gradually connecting all startups in different places and spaces. So we collaborated with international organizations that were doing more or less, they were the best in what they were doing. For example, in Denmark, with a creative business network that focuses on creative industries and does and still does in more than 80 countries a very successful competition that brings the best of the creative industry startups. With Erasmus Center of Entrepreneurship in Rotterdam University, they used to do a Get in the Ring, a very known competition across industries. And also through that process, we identified, since I'm coming from Greece, food and all this culture around the Mediterranean nutrition, we identified two major things. One, that 2050, more than 9 billion people, how we're going to feed them, and also 1 billion people suffering from diabetes. So the food aspect, food security, how we're going to feed the people, how we're going to create a more healthy diet for all of us, inspired us, and also we created Future Agro Challenge, which is a global initiative running in 64 countries, supporting and discovering startups around agri-tech, agri-food, and food tech companies. And what is the most important thing of an ecosystem builder and the relationship between the startups and the rest of the parties? Can anyone tell me, what is the most important thing that you need to build? Trust. And how you build trust? I had a discussion yesterday with Leonardo, and he was telling me about a book, and I got inspired. And how you build? Where do you build the trust? Actually, by parting. The most important thing of ecosystem building, and that's why it's not for old guys like me anymore, and it's for the younger guy to play on board, is get connected. This thing is useful and is very informational, and you get, to meet the people you want, but at the end, the real thing is after, in the party, in the meeting, where do you go out, and you really get to know. Out of the stage, when you become more personal. And how you become more personal? By getting drunk. So I would like to offer you ouzo. How many of you had ever had an ouzo? Just to try. It's a Greek, like rake. It's just to taste and in essence, to break the ice. This is what ecosystem entails. Get together and connect. Okay, so networks we build. Everyone is building networks, and the most important thing is to connect. And as industry disruptors, what we try to do for us is a non-profit. I was inspired these 10 years by the, how passion-driven initiative is industry. There is no money involved for us until last year, 2 years ago, that we decided to go also on the funding aspect. So the last 10 years, we mobilized non-equity, no commission money for startups to give opportunities through competitions, through awards, through traveling, through education schemes that we offered. But as I'm getting older and I have 2 kids now, I said, okay, the ecosystem building is really nice, but it's a very tough job. You travel all the time and you don't make any money if there is no business model beneath. So I was thinking how, and we did what more or less everyone else is doing in the sense, but we decided to do a big international event. We did events anyway, but it wasn't events with ticket, for profit. It was just to bring the stakeholders together. So we created Beyond. It's focused on AI and how technology transforms our lives across. It's in Thessaloniki, the second biggest. I'm from Athens, the capital of Greece, but we decided to go in Thessaloniki to mobilize also the rest of Southeast Europe, easy access to Balkans. So we do that. The fourth event was a month ago. Also, we decided to actually invest in smart farming and precision agriculture, and we managed to convince, after 10 consecutive years of trying to convince the biggest agriculture university in Greece, very old, 120 years, with a lot of knowledge, to convince to do an actual essay, an actual company, not a spin-off, not a spin-out, with a complicated model of how you distribute the equity and the profits, but we did an actual essay, the Smart Agro Hub, which is focusing on developing, but as a for-profit company, a solution and a platform on smart farming. And also, we developing now open farms. So it's a multi-stakeholder places, actually around Greece. One is outside of Athens, the other is in Rhodes, that we're going to produce it's some kind. In Rhodes, we're going to produce wine from ancient varieties, but at the same time will be an innovation lab, and we're going to host during the non-touristic months startups to work on their projects, and at the same time during the summer will be a profitable business hosting curious tourists to support the operation. And last but not least, we raised a fund. The fund is a 30 million fund, seed series A, 500 and up to 2 million tickets. We are industry agnostic, geography agnostic. We have as an anchor investor HTBI. Do I have 2 minutes? One, okay. But we have money, we are open for business. We need a Greek angle, but we can create together a Greek angle. And we have appetite. So far, we have done 4 investments, 3 in US, 1 in UK. So geographical proximity is not necessarily an issue. And now in 30 seconds, there was a tremendous transformation these last 10 years in Greece in the startup ecosystem. First of all, for the first time, there is a registry. Startup Elevate is called. If you are in this registry, you get funded by structural funds directly, and there are specific programs. So far, we have 749 startups there. That's a Greek initiative. That's a government initiative, not a private initiative. And also, there is a tech visa now in place. You can come as a nomad, as whatever, and stay and work there. And also, there are a lot of tech tour. For the first time, the last 3 to 4 years, there is on the map the country for real and big investments. Also, for Hellenic Development Bank and Hellenic Development Bank of Investments are the 2 vehicles. They are mobilizing more than 2.5 billion. And they actually, when I started, there was no fund. VC was like, I don't know, the forbidden word. And angel investors, they were asking 17% of the company to invest 50,000 euros. So now there is a huge transformation. We have more than 25 funds at all levels, from PE, 250, 500 million, to small VCs, 15, 20, 25 million, investing from pre-seed to Series B. And there is a strategic partnership with Mubadala. Mubadala is a key player. It's the actually sovereign fund of Emirates. So we, with a very consistent strategic design, the Greek government opened also other sovereign funds, BPI France, and they make bilateral agreements in order to broaden the scope of the investment, and at the same time create corridors for the Greek startups for the next round, and for the VCs. Because as a VC, I invest now, I put 1 million, but in 18 months, the startup will need another 5 or 6 million to move ahead to international markets. So by default, these collaborations open the corridor. And last but not least, for the first time, there are in place technology transfer offices, and there are programs through the General Secretary of Research and Innovation that actually enable this commercialization process and the collaboration, strategic and structured collaboration between industry and research institutes. 100 billion through the 3 programs, the structural funds, all the European member states, they get these structural funds. The recovery fund and the CAP, the Common Agricultural Program, more than 100 billion are mobilized now in Greece, the period 22-27. So usually in this kind of presentation, I was always a bit conservative, and for the first time I can say that we have a solid ecosystem that is growing, and there are concrete opportunities for startups to look and exploit the opportunities there. There was some unicorns that I would like for you to see how it grew, but it doesn't matter. We can discuss it after in the panel with Andon and Leonardo.
Exactly. Michalis, thank you very much.
A
true disruptor. I sometimes feel like I'm in between a rock and a hard place. I'm fighting against time, and then you get my audience drunk. Well, what can I say? A true disruptor. A round of applause to Michalis.